Hi everyone, welcome to Automation Testing Training Program. In the last class, if you people remember, we studied about this example spec, right? We just created this spec file and we executed that particular file. It launched a browser and it executed the script successfully. But at the time, we considered about describe and it, which we have discussed in a Jasmine framework, and we discussed about this browser.get command and other small examples. Now, what exactly I want to do right now is, in the last class, we didn't studied about the conf.js file. Really, if you observe, we just opened this file and we executed that. But we didn't studied what exactly the content present in a conf. file. See, it was divided into multiple parts. It has having around 3 to 4 different sections are there within this conf.js file. So in the today's class, we are going to study about the overview on a conf.js. So what is this a conf.js? Why we need this a conf.js? So the first and the most important thing is this is the important file required to execute your test scripts. This is the most important file required for us to execute our protractor test cases. So if you want to execute something on a protractor means for sure you need this conf.js. Without having this conf.js, it's not possible for us to execute our test cases in protractor. Fine. And another thing is the conf.file provides explanation for all of the protractor configuration options. So this file internally provides the various kinds of options required for a protractor to execute the test script. So the conf file contains this much of information. Default settings include the Selenium Standalone Server, the Chrome browser, and a Jasmine framework. So it means by default, any conf.js file contains a server address. By default, it will run on a Chrome browser, and by default, it's going to point to a Jasmine framework. If you are using some other frameworks like Mocha and other frameworks, then you need to change that. By default, the conf.js is a file which contains these three: Selenium Server, Chrome browser, and a Jasmine test. Okay, great. How this a simple conf.file looks like means, so here you just need to specify this one. So the first one is exports.conf. Within these braces, we are going to pass those parameters, where in which the first line, if you observe, direct connect is true. The meaning is whenever you are defining direct connect as a true, it will import the default settings of a protractor. The default settings are the browser will be a Chrome browser and the framework is a Jasmine framework. Whenever you are using direct connect is equal to true, automatically it will consider the default settings for the protractor, which is a browser name as a Chrome browser and an internal framework is a Jasmine framework. So here, first thing you need to specify this one. And moreover, if you would like to run the test scripts on any other browser apart from Chrome browser, then you need to comment that this direct connect is equal to true. It shouldn't be display out over there within your conf.js file. What else it should replace? We will study that one later whenever we are discussing about multiple browsers. But for now, direct connect is equal to true, which will get the default settings just by specifying a Chrome browser and a Jasmine framework. And then you need to specify the spec files. How many specs you need to execute? What are all the specifications you need to execute? You just need to specify here. If there are multiple specifications, then specify a comma, example spec.js, comma, like that. Specify as many specifications whatever you have here. Okay, how many specifications you have, you can specify those many specifications here. And then here within the Jasmine node outputs, we are just giving a default time value as this much of time. So whenever it is loading, it should wait for some amount of time, hence I am giving this much of time out over here. So if you observe a basic conf.js file, it looks like this. It contains a direct connect is equal to true, a spec, and as well as a Jasmine node in which we are specifying the timeout. Whereas here, as we have specified a direct connect is equal to true, we haven't specified anything about a Selenium server, we haven't specified anything about a Chrome browser and all those things. The reason is a direct connect is equal to true itself will take care about the default settings, and it will run on a default settings itself. Great. So this is a basic conf.dot file. To this conf.dot file, the two modifications which we can do is we can set up the server address or the Selenium server address, and then we can set up the browser name. So these are the two modifications which we need to specify to the conf.js file. So here, the first point is setting up the Selenium server. When we are working with a protractor, you need to specify how to connect to the browser driver. Okay, how to execute the protractor script on a browser, which will start up and control the browsers using your testing. So the ultimate point is your server is responsible to connect to the browser and to execute the test scripts. You will most likely use the Selenium server to achieve this. The server acts like a proxy between your test script written using a WebDriver API and the browser driver, which was controlled by WebDriver protocols. The server forwards the commands from your script to the driver, and it will return the response from the driver to your script. So server acts like an intermediate layer between the program and as well as a browser. It helps in executing the programs on a browser itself. So how can we start the standalone server means you need to open the command prompt first, and you need to run the update command. Run the update command. This will install the server and as well as a Chrome driver. So how to run the update? So I'm opening my command prompt. The command of which we need to use is WebDriver. Okay, so if you observe here, the command whatever we need to use is WebDriver hyphen manager space update, which will install the required things. So here it performed the desired operation. So after a few seconds, it will finish that. Once everything got downloaded and unzipped, so it will finish the process. And then you need to run the Selenium server from the same command prompt. This will start the Selenium server. You will see a lot of logs here. So the only thing what you need to do means you need to replace the update with a start. Automatically your server was started. See here, the server is up and running. Whenever you executed your test scripts, too many logs will be generated here. If the test script got passed, you can find the status here. If the test script got a fail, you can find the status here and the reason behind the failure, in which lies it is causing an error message. Everything will display here within this command prompt once after we started a server. There are multiple ways to start the Selenium server, but right now we are using this command prompt to start the server. Once after the command server was started, don't do anything. Leave this session like this. The reason is once after you have written your program, whenever you are trying to execute the program will communicate with the server itself. So at the time of execution, for sure the server should be up and running. So leave this command prompt, don't close it. Okay, so usually within the config file we will specify this URL. Okay, within the config file what we usually do means we will specify this URL. So let me open my URL in a browser. Okay, I just opened this URL in a browser. See here, oops, the URL. Okay, 1 second. So here the only difference is earlier I added a dot at end. So here the session was started. You can create as many sessions you want, as many browsers you want, whatever you want, you can specify that. But by default, I started my Selenium server and I left it out over there. And this is the URL where in which your server was started. So you need to set the Selenium address in the config file. So you need to set this a Selenium URL within the config file, and this is the URL. So how to modify that? Here is the modified conf.file. So here the only modification is Selenium address as a parameter. I'm passing this value. Whatever the value we updated in a browser, we just pass it that particular value. So within the conf.file, I pass it the Selenium URL. Great. And once we are done up to here, The next point is setting up the browser. See, apart from this Selenium address, everything is one and the same. Now we need to pass the browser. Protractor works with a Selenium WebDriver, which is a browser automation framework. Selenium WebDriver supports several browser implementations, whereas the Protractor supports the two latest major versions of Chrome, Firefox, and Safari IE browsers. Okay, in your Protractor or else a config file, all the browsers setup should be done within a capabilities object. So if you would like to run your test script on any other browsers apart from Firefox, apart from Chrome, you need to change this capabilities object. Okay, you need to change this capability object. So here for this Chrome browser, I am not doing anything. I'm just leaving this direct connect as a true. If you would like to run your test script on a Firefox browser, I would need to comment this direct connect, or I need to remove this direct connect, and I need to create an object to the capabilities like this, where in which I'm passing the browser name as a Firefox. That's it. I'm just passing the browser name as a Firefox. That's it. But right now, within the capabilities objects, we can pass the desired browser name so that the conf file will recognize the browser, and it, while executing the test script, it will launch that particular browser instance. Okay, so here within the conf dot file, if the browser also updated, this is how the conf file will looks like. So here it contains a Selenium address, direct connect is not there. We need to pass the capabilities object specified by a browser name, spec files, and this one. That's it. This is more than enough, which we need to define within a conf.js file. Based on your program, just change this spec name to your program.js. Automatically your script will execute on that particular program. Okay, automatically your script will execute on that particular program. Okay, and sometimes we are using a show color is equal to true, which is used to display colors for the reports in the command line. So this is an optional thing, but these are all the basic things required for us to work on a conf.js. Okay, this is all about this conf.js. In the next session, we will study about the locators. How can we identify objects and other things we are going to study in the next class. That's all I have. See you again in the next session. Thank you. Bye bye.